Morning world. I've had a few questions asking me what that is up on top of the hill up there. It's quite away from here, so about a mile and a half as the crow flies. But that structure, monument, signifies a rather important part of our history and heritage. So maybe I'll tell you what it's about. We've got to take a road trip though. My pork feel nice and firm for you, dear.
Rabbit! Rabbit! That from us. Squirrel!
Yeah, you're not fly around me. I'm spotlessly clean, everything squeaks. What?
Dirty.
Come on. Sit in bed. Right then, so today a little road trip and a little bit of local history. I'm going to tell you about a man who lived here many years ago. I can't remember the date because until I go and fetch the book, which is where we're going in a minute, I can't remember. But this man has probably affected the vast majority of you lot. He has done something that all of you will either appreciate or not appreciate, but you know, what he did years ago and died for his pains in doing it has affected pretty much everyone on the planet, apart from people who live in jungles and stuff who wouldn't have a clue. So we're going to go for a little trip. Not far, 20 minutes. Right, we're on our way to a place called Little Sodbury. Little Sodbury is not far from Chipping Sodbury. You may have heard that name a few times in films. For some reason they like to drop the name Chipping Sodbury. I think the last time I heard it was in Mortal Engines. I believe the name Chipping Sodbury came up in Mortal Engines. Chipping Sodbury is about 8-9 miles away from our farm. Next door to Chipping Sodbury, like I said, is Old Sodbury, but we're going to a place called Little Sodbury. In fact, we're going to the church at Little Sodbury. And when we get there, you'll find out why. Now, you don't want to look at me. You want to look at some of the countryside we're going to go to. I'll turn you around. At the Haynes Road. We have arrived. Right, Biscuit's not very happy because I had to leave her in the car, but for obvious reasons, because we're going in here. Obviously, we'll be making a donation. You can pause that bit and read it. It's very quiet. As you can see, it's a tiny little place. And I am looking for something in particular. This is what I'm looking for. One, two, three. I know it says £3, but every bit helps. Right then. Shall we walk around outside? Donations. Right, let's go. That's a door. Right, so we'll have a wander around this church. There is a reason we're here, and it is for him. I like looking at trees. But to some of our American friends, the Williamtonia is a weed, tiny little thing. For me, that's the biggest tree. Bit of squirrel damage in the maples. There's a handsome beach. Nice little hangar in there though. Right, well that's part one sorted out. We've come to the church, St Adeline's, and we've got our book. I've already got one of these at home, but I can't find it. Hence the reason we come and bought a new one. And now we'll head back. And I'll go through this with you, and then maybe we'll go and look at the monument that they built to this guy. By which time you'll understand why they built it. I would have liked to put the drone up and have a fly around. The thing is, there are so many trees. There's nothing I can really show you that you can't see on Google Earth anyway, so. And flying around the churchyard, I'm not sure if I'm entirely comfortable with that, so we did. It's not really nice out there, so I thought, well, I wanted to tell you about this man, so I might as well take the opportunity while I can't go out and play with tractor. I'll read you this. So before we start, I'm not a religious or religiously minded person. I'm christened, I was married at a church, but I don't really do religion that much. But I have great deal of respect for this chap, William Tyndale. This book, by the way, I'll put a link in the comments in the bit below to show you where you can get it from. If you're even faintly interested in English history and the Bible, this is a must-have. So, and for £3 you can't really go far wrong. So, William Tyndale. In a BBC survey in 2002, William Tyndale was voted as one of the top 100 British people in history for everything he achieved, and most of which you won't realise. His exact place of birth is nobody really knows. It was originally thought he was in Northern Italy, but that's because the monument is there. It is now thought maybe it was in Slimbridge or even Stinchcombe, which is just down the road. Anyway, he was born in that area. Educated at first at Catherine Lady Barclay School, which is the same school that I went to. KLB School was endowed in 1384 by Lady Barclay, the second wife of Thomas, the 8th Lord of Berkeley. A long time ago. The school moved in 1726 to School Lane, and again in 1963 to the new place on the Kingswood Road, which is where I went. After his time at KLB, he went to Oxford University and studied his arts course, where he did his BA and his Masters in 1512 and 1515. He then moved to Cambridge to carry on with his education, and where he was actually ordained. We don't know the exact date of his ordination, but we know it happened there. After Cambridge, he moved to Little Sodbury, and he became a tutor to children, I think, of Sir John Walsh. I won't go too much into that because you need to read the book. He became great friends with Mr. Walsh and engaged in a lot of debate about religious issues at dinner parties and stuff like that. He didn't make many friends there because Mr. Tyndale had the view that priests of the country were ignorant and poorly educated, as in a lot of the priesthood couldn't even read English, let alone Latin, and he believed that the Bible, which was only printed in Latin, should be available to all. So I think that's when the idea came into his head that maybe he could translate the Bible from Latin to English so everybody could read it. So anyway, his ideas made him some enemies with the church and the monarchy, and he ended up having to go to Europe to escape persecution. So while in Europe, he carried on with studies at other universities, and he started his work of translating the Bible. He had copies printed of the Bible, but any copies that got to the British shores were burned, and basically the church were very, very unhappy with him. He was classed and branded a heretic. So another one of Tyndale's books, which wasn't just the Bible, he actually wrote something called The Obedience of Christian Man, which apparently the monarchy did like. That was okay, that one. Just the Bible he couldn't. So let's go on forward. I'm not going to go through these pages. There's loads of stuff in here. It tells you all about it. So eventually Tyndale was captured and imprisoned, and he was condemned as a heretic in August 1536. He was degraded from the priesthood or unhallowed. He was in prison for quite a while, but eventually his sentence was carried out. On the day of his execution, when Tyndale was tied to a stake surrounded by brushwood and timber laced with gunpowder, he was strangled by the hangman, using the noose around his neck, and then he was burned. The ironic thing is, a year after his death, Bibles in English were being printed in England. Printed by somebody else who was probably perhaps better liked by the church, but yeah, most of the work was Tyndale's. He basically did all the work, and these other guys took the credit. So basically this guy died for his belief that everybody should be able to read the scriptures, not just the rich, wealthy churchgoers and the monarchy. but he also left a few other legacies to the English language, and I'll read some of these. So there are phrases that you and I might use every day, and they are his. And I'll just give you a couple of them. So, sign of the times. Eat, drink, and be merry. Ye of little faith. I use that one quite a lot. The land of the living. A law unto themselves. Salt of the earth, and the apple of the eye. There's loads more on here, but I'm not going to read them all to you. In the back of the book, there's basically a condensed history of everything that went on. So basically, that's why, like I say, I don't want to go too much into this, because if you're interested, I want you to buy the book, because the book goes towards looking after the church. So, and like I say, the link will be below on where to do it. So we are going to go and take a walk now, a drive to Nibley. We'll walk up the hill. We'll go at the monument. We'll have a little fly around. I'll take a couple of photographs from the top. But if ever you're in Gloucestershire, in the United Kingdom, go find this place. You can buy the book in the church. It's a lovely little churchyard. Go and park up at North Nibley by the cemetery and walk at the monument. Most of the year the monument door is open. Little donation and you can walk right to the top, and there's a cracking view. On a good day you could see miles and miles and miles. And while you're there, just think about this fella, because he basically made, well, I think maybe translating the Bible into English, maybe encouraged more people to actually learn to read and write as well, so they could understand it. So he probably did a great favour to just education as a whole, not just religious education, but actually reading, writing, languages, probably mathematics, all sorts of stuff. We owe this guy a lot. So that's why I'm doing the video. Not just because we've got a cracking monument out the road. There is a story, by the way, that during the Second World War, the cross that you will see in the video later on was knocked off by a Spitfire in low cloud. Whether that's true or not, it's one that goes around, but apparently the cross was knocked off the top of the monument in the, obviously it was the late 30s, early 40s. So anyway, enough of that. I'll put the link below. We'll go out and jump in the van, which is actually a bit of video I shot yesterday, and we're going to go for a little trip at the monument, and you can see a bit of our very local heritage and history. Alright, job done. Thanks, William. Right, the sun's shining. It is the next day. Rained yesterday afternoon, and unfortunately I had to work as well. But I've got an hour or so free this afternoon. We're going for a walk. So I thought we'd go and have a wander at the monument. I ummed and ahed whether to bring Biscuit or not, but she wasn't going to stay at home. I wasn't given the choice. Well, that's our destination. Up there. You ready for a walk, Biscuit? We're going up there. The first part of our trip starts here at the cemetery. Find the village post box and head uphill. Come here. Come on. It's a bit of a climb, mate, if you ain't fit. That chicken curry's starting to feel a bit heavy. Oh, for 4 legs. I'm not even halfway yet. Oh, I can nearly see the top. Not far now. It's worth it. Well, let's do the Cotswold Way bit. Dealer boots were not a good idea. I haven't done this for a month or two. First sight. Almost there. There it is. Cool. Shame it's a bit of a murky day. The view isn't fantastic. Whew. Anyway, Bradley Farm, or we, are down there. So not this building's in the front, over the hill, and down there, that's home. And this is Nibley Knoll, Tyndale's monument, or as it's fondly known locally, Spike Island. Right, maybe time to take a few stills, get my breath back, and get the drone out. And maybe we'll go up there. Right then, ready to fly? just to turn your own left then. It's depressing, isn't it? Ash dieback. That's the first time I've seen it up here actually. I think the ash trees are in for it. Come on. Someone just had a right royal chase of a squirrel. I didn't have the camera on. Where's he gone? Where's that squirrel? Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Squirrels! Biscuit's favourite plaything is squirrels. Where's she gone? Oh, there you are. Psst, come on. Come on. So from this point here, you could actually carry on that way, and I suppose it's about a 2-mile walk, but you can walk all through what's called Westridge Woods to Woodland Edge. So you can pretty much walk from one town to the other, or through the woods, or cycle it, or ride a horse if you really want to. You are very fortunate to have a bit of countryside like this on here. Well, drone flight got cut a bit short up there, which was a shame because I was hoping to get a few more pictures, but the world is wife suddenly turned up and there was a few dogs around, and landing drones anywhere near dogs is kind of a no-no. So it's nearly as bad as trying to fly a drone near seagulls. So rather than risk hurting someone's dog or losing my drone, I settled for the bit of footage I got, so let's hope it's enough. Come on. Wait, come on, in here. Good girl. Better safe than sorry. She's well behaved on the road, but you never know. Squirrel, cat, another dog. It ain't worth the risk. You'd never forgive yourself, would you? Go on, in you go. Good girl. So it is autumn. Clocks go back this weekend, and it is definitely cooler than it was last time I came in the summer. But 15 degrees centigrade out there. Warm enough to go climbing about. Let's go. But you worked up a hunger now, haven't you? But you want some food, as it is 4:30 food o'clock.